Welcome back to the Ross Bolin podcast presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here today with producer Kade Orris. Kade, say hello.
Hello.
It's a big week in the Bolin house as my 7-month-old son RJ had his first day of school. 7 months old, dude. We figured he was old enough. It was time to start his education so he can graduate from high school or get his GED as quickly as possible, so we can put him to work in the internet content minds of Bolin Media. But it's like a legitimate, it's a real school, but he's in like the daycare classroom with 5 other babies. And it's called a Montessori school, though, not really a traditional school. Do you know what a Montessori school is, Kade?
Can't say I'm familiar with it.
I feel like not that many people are.
Is it a newer thing, or has it been around for a while?
It's been around for a while, but it's kind of new agey, I guess you could say. Serious hippie vibes at this place. But here's the Wikipedia definition. The Montessori method of education is a type of educational method that involves children's natural interests and activities rather than formal teaching methods. A Montessori classroom places an emphasis on hands-on learning and developing real-world skills, which on paper sounds phenomenal, right? Like, you know, they're teaching him how to do his taxes, how to vote, how to take out a loan, how to buy a car.
What insurance is.
Yeah, exactly. Things a 7-month-old baby needs to know.
Yeah.
All the traditional stuff, or all the stuff that traditional schools failed to teach the rest of us, which is huge. Like, the way I figure it, by age 15, he'll be more prepared for adulthood than I am now at 36 years old, and he can take over the family business and we'll just work for him. But it is still one of the most bizarre things about, like, my education when I look back at it, you know, from preschool through college, however many years, I guess, like, you know, 20 plus years in school, and I popped out the other side without a freaking clue how to do my taxes, without the slightest idea. Like how, I mean, I remember at one point sort of learning how voting worked, but I feel like it was not in college, like it was in either high school or middle school, and it was when I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's their problem. They keep teaching us stuff when we don't really care. Like, it doesn't apply to us yet.
Because you're not close to the point where you're gonna be voting yet when you learn that stuff in middle school or whatever. So it just, and I feel like we spent so much time, like in like chemistry class, like learning the periodic table. That was like months and months and months.
Yeah, or learn like the Pythagorean theorem in math.
I'm never going to think about that stuff ever again.
Yeah.
Rest of my life. I mean, the math stuff, a lot of people do use, and I guess it's good to have like the basics, you know, like multiplying, adding, subtracting.
Yeah, PEMDAS.
Yeah, but some of that shit we got into was trigonometry. Like, what? I'm never, ever going to do that again.
I don't need to know about the cosine and the tangents and all the angles and all whatever.
It was crazy because it was like, for me, I'm 10 years younger than Kade. And for me, when we were doing this, when we were doing math, what? I'm 10 years older than Kade. I'm 10 years younger at heart. When we were doing math, I remember being like, but we have calculators. Like, there were like tests where they were like, no calculators for this test. And I was like, but that doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm trying to think of like a good example. It'd be like if they were teaching you how to build a desk, and they were like, but you can't use a hammer. You got to go find a rock or use your fist. Be like, but the hammer exists.
Or no, it's like you can't use the instruction manual. You just have to go
use your natural instincts. I just never understood that. It never made sense to me. And then we finally got to a part later on in school where it was like, okay, now you can use the calculator for certain things. And then we, you know, people programmed the answers into them and shit. There was all kinds of cheating going on. I didn't know how to do any of that.
I did that a lot. I was pretty good in math. Like I was a year above I was supposed to be. But I still cheated all the time in math just because I was like, this isn't any use to me.
I wish I had cheated more than I did. I think I cheated like twice in 20 years. And I should have been going off because a lot of people I knew were just like constantly cheating. and not getting caught and not getting in as much trouble as I was for failing math classes in particular.
Yeah, no, I cheated quite a bit, especially in math. I did get caught once, but this was for a different subject. But yeah, math, you could just like literally enter all your all the answers. Like I had a friend that was really smart. He would just put in all the answers for me, and I would just go on about my way. And I had like the advanced calculator. I had like the graphing calculator and shit. I don't know if you had that. That was
yeah, we had those.
But mine was like a...
That's what people programmed all the shit into.
Yeah, but I feel like mine was a step up.
Oh, it probably was. I mean, technology advanced a whole decade more by the time you were in there. God knows what kind of calculators y'all had. People were like programming games and shit into them when I was a kid. But yeah, it just... Anyway, the education system hasn't improved since I was deep into it. And I kind of figured, like, my wife introduced me to this Montessori school stuff, and I was just like, hey... Anything that's focused on like practical knowledge that's useful sounds good to me, because the shit that I learned, man, it was like over 50% of it is not helpful to me now. And a lot of the stuff that was taught to us, I feel like I've learned since is just either incorrect or warped in one way or another, like skewed. Like a lot of the American history I learned in middle school just left out like huge chunks of the story that were really important, which I've had to learn through like movies and documentaries and shit. So if anybody ever gives me hell for watching too much TV, like I'm trying to plug the holes, the educational gaps that were brought about by the public school system. And like really the good education I got was in private school up to 8th grade. And then I went to public high school and public college, and it was fucked. I learned nothing from 18 to 23 years old. Zero new information came into my brain, but I somehow graduated in both cases with a lot of struggle and strife. I would note, like I had to take a couple of math classes a few times to get that passing grade, you know?
Yeah, should have been cheating. Oh.
Yeah, should have been cheating my ass off. Would have gotten out of there quicker. I'd probably be a millionaire by now. Anyway, we've got a good show for you today, including a special guest interview, which I recorded last week and you'll hear next. But first, having worked on the internet for over a decade now, entirely too much of my personal information is online. For years, I've wished for a way to efficiently delete my data that is being sold online by data brokers. Thankfully, our newest sponsor, Delete Me, does just that. Today's episode is brought to you by Delete Me, a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online. You just sign up for an account, submit your personal information for removal from people search websites, then Delete Me experts find and remove it for you. You'll receive a detailed Delete Me report in 7 days, letting you know all the different data brokers and places your information has been deleted from. Then they follow up and remove your personal information again every 3 months to keep you protected. Data brokers create a profile for you, including things like your social security number, birthday, information about your relatives, past and recent addresses, and more. This is why I signed up for a Delete Me account myself, to ensure me and my family aren't as susceptible to phishing scams and other kinds of attacks. It just takes a few minutes. And what's a few minutes for peace of mind? I received my first Delete Me report less than 24 hours after signing up and was amazed by just how many places my information was available online. I'm super glad I did it. I feel a lot better knowing Delete Me has my back. Now get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/RBP and use promo code RBP. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/RBP and enter promo code RBP at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/RBP, promo code RBP. You can find a link and the code in the description of this episode as well. Now it is time to bring on our special guest for today's show, custom action figure maker Miles McAlpin, a.k.a. Sir Collect-A-Lot, who you can find at Sir Collect-A-Lot on Instagram. I love talking to people with unique careers who prove you can make a living or a side hustle out of pretty much anything you're passionate about, and today's guest definitely has himself a unique career as a toy maker of sorts. So let's bring him in now through the magic of technology, Miles McAlpin, otherwise known as Sir Collect-A-Lot. All right, now I'm joined by Miles McAlpin.
Got it.
I did it, aka Sir Collect-a-Lot, joining us from Boston, Massachusetts. You're at Sir Collect-a-Lot on Instagram. What's that?
I just moved to Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Miles, you describe your work as bootleg action figures. When did you make your first?
I made my first at the beginning of the pandemic. This was a pandemic hobby turned career. I got furloughed from my job in the travel industry. I was doing marketing, some design, some social media. My background is in social media and email marketing, and I was able to take some of the design part of that and translate that into toy making. Otherwise, I kind of started from scratch from YouTube videos and kind of taught myself how to do it. I started, basically when the pandemic hit, I needed a hobby. I needed something to do, pass my time, and I kind of found this on Instagram and got started.
So it went from like a passion project to now this is your full-time gig?
Yeah, I basically just started making them, and then I felt like I just, felt comfortable sharing them, got them online, and then people started to make offers on those ones and, request commissions for new ones, and then I had a business on my hands.
Your first Instagram post was January 11th of 2020, and now you have over 20,000 followers. Instagram is where I found you. Is that where you're getting the majority of your business?
Yeah, it definitely is. I've used it kind of as a way to, I've built a following that has allowed me to kind of use Instagram as an auction space too. So I'll run auctions directly on Instagram, which kind of started as a way to try to just build engagement in the hope that people would comment, as they would bid up, it would kind of get more attention to the post. I've continued to use it on and off as an auction platform. It kind of depends on what the project is, but yeah, Instagram's been super helpful for me for sure.
I didn't know you could even do an auction on Instagram.
It's not the easiest process. It takes kind of a lot of trust in people to kind of make sure that they're referring back to the last person that bid and kind of giving them, if they at them, then they know that they've been kind of outbid.
Oh, okay. So you're running it through the comment section.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. I have seen that done before. I have seen that done with sneakers is where I've seen it.
I've also someone reached out to me recently, this company that they start like custom auction houses. They just started one for Pharrell that basically allows Instagram to become, like the way you get a pop-up over Instagram, it'll kind of be like, it'll be a third party, but it'll be kind of, I'll be able to post on Instagram the way I always do. But then the finance part is taken care of in the back end. So they'll have to sign up, attach a credit card to it. But then it's like eBay, there's a commitment aspect at the end. Actually, eBay doesn't really offer that, unfortunately, forcing people to buy at the end. But that's kind of how this is set up.
So I guess what you're making stuff that's like so much of it is up my alley. Like just looking at your most recent posts. You've got Newman from Seinfeld, which is all time. One of my best friends growing up's last name was Newman, and my dad is a huge Seinfeld fan, so we would always do the Newman thing. Oh. But then you've got like Tyler the Creator, Super Troopers, like Joe Dirt. You've got McGruber, Ali G, like stuff that is very much in my, lines up with my interests, which just makes your page all the more fun for me. But go ahead.
We're probably a similar age. I think I just kind of like if it's something I want to auction off, I usually go with something that I have a particular interest in. It'll likely kind of find people with a similar interest in it, and like you said, it kind of just there's like a nostalgia aspect of it. I like to create figures where it's something that people wouldn't really imagine there being a toy for example.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like the strong majority of it. It's stuff that you would not expect, right? Like nobody expects to get what's his first name? Fletcher Reed from Liar Liar as an action figure, but I fucking love that movie. I've got an Ace Ventura behind me as we speak. That somebody gave me. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, what action figures did you play with growing up?
It's a good question. I definitely had a ton of wrestling figures. I wasn't like huge wrestling fan, but I had a bunch of figures, and you know, I couldn't even tell you what specific ones. That's like how out of touch I was with it from where I've ended up. Obviously, not too many people kind of need to rifle off what toys they had as kids, but I do get asked that question, and I'm kind of bad at answering it.
No, I mean your answer is actually hilarious to me because I had a bunch of wrestling action figures too growing up, but I never watched wrestling, like very, very rarely.
Yeah, I was worried you would be like, oh, I'm a huge wrestling guy here. What are your, and I wouldn't have an answer for you. So
No, no, I'm not a huge wrestling guy at all. Never really understood it, but for whatever reason, when I was a kid, I did love all the action figures, and I played some of the video games too, or whatever. But yeah, wrestling people will definitely be offended by both of our lack of knowledge, which is okay. That's fine. You have kids now? Have you made anything for your kids?
I have not. He just turned 1.5 last week, so he loves figures. Actually, anytime we go to, I work out of our garage, so anytime we go to get in the car, there's several drawers and trunks and cardboard boxes full of figures that I'm either working on or parts that I've kind of salvaged from different toys to use for future projects. And he usually gets to pick one out before we hop in the car. So he's in tune with that. I'm surrounded by toys, and he loves that. But he definitely doesn't know what I'm doing with them.
Yeah, I have just turned 7-month-old boy. That he's like he plays with some of his older sister. My stepdaughter's 4, and she's got obviously a whole bunch of toys, but he's mostly interested in like the dinosaurs that she has and stuff right now. So it's just funny. When I was a kid, like I mean, hundreds of Ninja Turtle action figures, like hundreds and hundreds of them. When my little brother was born, he's 5 years younger than me. You know how when you have a second kid, you usually give the first kid a present on that day to like ease the transition of, hey, you're no longer the only center of attention in the universe. They gave me a Shredder action figure from Ninja Turtles, and I was a big action figure kid. Like I played with them all of the time. Also liked like Legos and stuffed animals and whatnot, but like mainly action figures. Like that was what I rocked with. And it's cool to see somebody doing something like this that's like so out of the ordinary in terms of what you would think you could do for money, right? Like making your own one of one custom action figures and then auctioning them off. And like I know people are probably wondering. I saw like on your page where you have them like for sale, like where you can go buy them in your link in bio or whatever, right? It goes to all your links, and you can click like the Sir Collect-a-Lot's toy store, and like they're not cheap. They're not cheap, right? Because they take a good amount of time for you to make, and so like, what's the most expensive one you've ever auctioned off?
I've had auctions go for like 500 to 600, I think, for one-offs. Definitely like for commission work, when I get to, choose the price from the beginning. That's kind of, now that I, have a family, I'm trying to kind of turn this into a real business. And I've done some branded work that allows me to like kind of up that a little bit. But the auctions, yeah, I think the auctions usually go for like the biggest have been like 500 or 600.
That's wild. Like how many hours? I know this is a complicated answer that you'll have, I'm sure, but like generally, I guess, how many hours does it take you to finish one action figure? And can you kind of like walk us through the process a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think that sometimes I like to start with the figure. So I'm using parts from old toys to create new ones. So the most fun, especially when it was a hobby, I would just go through, bins of toys at like comic book stores, or I would buy like lots on eBay and just go through them and be like, okay, this face, if I was able to sculpt different hair on this, would look different. It reminds me of this character, and I'm going to be able to use the body from this one and the legs from this one. I'll have to sand off these parts, and then I'll have to sculpt, these shorts into pants. And then you kind of, once you map that out, then you slowly see it start to come to life. And probably while I'm kind of mapping that out, I'll also start with the packaging design in Photoshop, which might take half an hour, it might take 2 hours, kind of depending on what I'm trying to figure out. At the beginning, I was kind of learning a lot of this on YouTube, as I said. So now that I've gotten the hang of it, I think a figure will take me like 4 to 8 hours, somewhere in there, like something that's much harder. And the sculpting kind of is kind of like out of my league. And I'm trying to figure out how to do something I haven't done before. Might add another hour in there. A paint job that might be super simple. I'm not mixing colors. I'm doing kind of like three, pants are one, shoes are one, top is one, flesh, and then eyes and things like that. Like that might be an hour, but something else that's a little more detailed, complicated patterns, if you will. I'll run up kind of that might take a little while, especially because you have to wait for things to dry in between. Like as soon as I sculpt something, gotta let that sit overnight. Then I have to sand it, wash it, then spray it with primer, then start painting from scratch. So there are like these in between times that kind of delay the process for sure because things have to dry. But that's
yeah,
kind of it.
that's funny. It's like a sustainable deal where you're basically creating like Frankenstein toys almost because they you have a bunch of different parts coming from all these other action figures and whatnot. Um, what's your favorite thing you've ever made?
Um, so my favorite project was I did a project for Hulu for a TV show they did called Rap Caviar Presents, where they reached out. The director followed me on Instagram. He's like, I'm doing this. I have this idea of using your toys kind of in the intro to the TV show. And it was a list of like 8 to 10 rappers. So I did Lil Wayne, I did Doja Cat, Meg The Stallion, like big time rappers and artists, which was just cool to actually get to do for something that was going to involve them in the show. And that, they're all included in the show. So that was probably my favorite project. It was when my son was born. Luckily, babies sleep a lot, as you know, I was like, how am I going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
And then come to find out, I'm letting my wife sleep. So I'm staying up on overnight duty, but he just sleeps the majority of the time. So I was able to get a lot of work done in those first couple of weeks, luckily, and finish this project. It's now been, it was used as the intro to the show and it came out a couple of months ago. So it's just a really cool way to see my work kind of come to life in a way that like just totally legitimized what I was doing just for myself.
I have to imagine that a lot of people come to you or buy your work as gifts for people who are like super into, like just as an example, you said Lil Wayne, like somebody knows their partner or whatever is like a huge Lil Wayne fan, they'll get a figure made, which is also just it's nice that again doing one of one work like this makes it so special to the individual who's going to receive it. Do you have any cool stories from people like giving you an explanation? I mean, that's a pretty great one. The fact that it was used for a Hulu show for Rap Caviar.
Yeah.
But anything else like that where there's like a story behind what you made?
So I had a good early share by a guy named Fredo Bang, who's a rapper that, a friend of a friend put me in touch with. It was kind of when I wasn't really doing commissions. I think I had probably 200 followers. I sent it to him thinking maybe he'll tag it. That was the idea behind it. And I woke up to about 3,000 followers. I think that was kind of my biggest like jump. And especially for like that 300 to 3,000 was like, that would have been a year's worth of work if I wasn't able to get something like that. I also woke up then to messages from DaBaby and Rick Ross. And Rick Ross just said, make rose toy, which is kind of my favorite story of this kind of commission coming to life. So obviously I dropped everything and made rose toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's every project leads to another one. And sometimes I do try, or at least early on when this wasn't total business, I would try to punt and find people to share my stuff. And I've been really lucky to have a mix of paid work and free work that I had done early on that ended up in some of my favorite, like I hit the podcasters hard. Theo Vaughn has one of my toys like right behind him on his podcast, which is awesome to see. Rob Schneider has one of my toys. Guy Fieri has one of my toys. So like I love getting it into their hands, obviously. Ideally it's paid work for sure. But sometimes it's just happened that I made it with the intention of ideally this goes to them. There's no auction associated with it. someone who knows someone can get it to them. Or sometimes, some people will reach out right on Instagram when they see the tag, and you'd be surprised. Some people that are small time will never, respond or comment or hit me up about something, but sometimes certain people will. It's cool.
Make Rose Toy is an incredible DM.
Get that from my friends every now and then. Just make Rose Toy.
That's fucking great. As we roll from summer into fall, it's time to reassess your downstairs mix-up and make sure your twig and berries are ready for cooler weather. Fresh ball fall is upon us, Kade, and you need to be in the festive spirit. Light a candle, get some pumpkin spice, and make sure your balls look nice with the sponsors of today's show, Manscaped. Nature may clear the leaves of their trees, but you'll need Manscaped's help to get you ready for that sweater weather. Get your pants puppies prepared for cuffing season with a trim as refreshing as a fall breeze by going to manscaped.com and using code RBP for 20% off plus free shipping. Have you ever used your facial razor to try and shave your testicles and ended up nearly losing a nut? I have. And that's why now I use Manscaped to avoid disaster. By now you've heard of them, but it's time to join the 9 million men worldwide using Manscaped and get the kit that covers it all, the Performance Package 4.0. It starts with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology that reduces nicks and cuts to make raking the leaves a lot less painful. Plus, the Lawnmower is a technical masterpiece. It has a 7,000 RPM motor, a multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, and a built-in 4,000K LED spotlight to help you see parts of your body you haven't looked at in years, if ever. Once you've cleared the driveway, the Performance Package comes in hot with products to cool you down. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Spray Toner, one to prevent stink and one to clear it up. With a soothing aloe vera formula, move over pumpkin spice. Fresh balls are the smell of the season, Kade's fresh ball smell. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves a fresh pair of balls, and it smells good. The Performance Package 4.0 caps it off with 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. That's one to hold your Manscaped goodies and one to hold your man goodies. I gotta say, one of the most underrated products Manscaped has created are their boxers. They are phenomenally comfortable. I wear them all the time. Bring in the fall right and get 20% off and free shipping with the code RBP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use code RBP as the leaves fall. Make sure you have it all with Manscaped. You mentioned, so you have to do some sanding and some sculpting. What material do you use if you have to create like that?
Yeah. So I definitely will first start with sanding down anything that shouldn't be there. If it's a figure that might have guns, or just I'm using real characters that most of which don't have guns or pads on them or things like that. So if it's a figure that was an action style figure, I'm definitely removing all of that. And then I use it's a 2-part putty that it doesn't harden until you combine it. So you take, 1-to-1 ratio of that, warm it up just by mixing it up. And then it becomes, soft for about an hour, and then it hardens and it's done. So you got to work kind of quickly with it once you get it started. But for that, I'll use, changing short sleeve to long sleeves. I'll add details like pockets on something. I will change hair. I'll add facial hair, different accessories like hats or watches, things like that come up that obviously have to be included. Changing the way shoes look to make it look more like, what someone might actually be wearing, stuff like that. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll do a little more Frankensteining with some heavy duty glue, obviously, too.
I'm scrolling through right now, and I love some of it. Some of your stuff is very mainstream cultural references, like Tony Soprano is not exactly a niche thing anymore. But you have the Unforgivable that you did. That's one of the all-time early viral YouTube videos. That is so fucking funny, and the packaging really takes it to a whole nother level, right? By itself, the action figures are great, but your packaging is hysterical, man, and it makes it something that you could really display in an office space. Obviously, like you said, you hit podcasters hard because we love to have shit in the background of our shows,
Totally.
which it's perfect for that. And then you do a lot of there's a lot of humor in some of what you make too. your Lionel Messi figure is just a straight up goat. Like,
Right.
he's which cracked me up. But then you do a lot of these like collaborative ones. Like one of the examples I just pulled up is the Post Malone, but it's Home Malone.
And that was one of my biggest posts. Like, I think it's got the most engagement of anything I've ever done, and that wasn't like a collab post with a celebrity or anything. I think that went for $500 or $600. It was actually gifted to Post Malone's. It's his social media manager. Shout out Bobby Greenleaf. He's now commissioned like 3 or 4 more different Post Malone toys. So I've done a few of those. But yeah, that one, the mashup, the kind of twist of 2 different pop culture icons in, Macaulay Culkin and Post Malone, those are definitely my favorite ones. Like if I was getting auction prices for what I charge for my commissions, then I would stop doing commissions and I would just do dumb, fun stuff like that.
Yeah, those are incredible. I forget this dude's name. What's
Arthur.
Arthur, yeah, the Arthur fist is all time.
I love trying to find like, memes and or just viral internet content. Sometimes I will try to get ahead on something. I don't know if you remember, he goes by the name Dogface. He's the guy that was doing the longboarding, drinking the cranberry juice while Fleetwood Mac's playing, right?
Yeah.
So that's like going viral, maybe an afternoon into a night. And I'm like, I don't know. I'll take a shot on this and go for it. I made a figure of him. I got it up either late that night or first thing in the morning. So I think a lot of people were seeing mine before they even saw that. And then that was on, in front of everybody for the next week or two. So I was able to get super early in on that. He found it. I sent it to him. He shared it. That got me a grip of followers. So I love kind of riding the wave of funny social media, viral stuff like that.
I also just pulled up the Frodo Baggins that you made. That's the Shire, and it's like the Wire crossover. That's fucking incredible.
Like it can be like you said, the packaging makes everything. Like the packaging is 51% of it, at least. A good packaging makes an okay toy a great toy in the end.
Are you working on anything right now that you can talk about?
Yeah, I'm doing 2 toys for PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, which is really fun. I am working on. I can show this Super Troopers one. This is one that I auctioned off recently. It's Mac. I kind of, I didn't know which character I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something from the show. The guy that won the auction, immediately hit me up as soon as he paid for that and was like, how about we do the other 4 main characters from the show? So I'm working on those, which is great. It's always nice to have like one client for multiple projects too, because I'm just like only one point of contact is awesome. I'm trying to think what else I've been working on.
Have you ever done have you ever done animals?
I've actually just started doing that because I've kind of seen like Instagram shows everyone crazy shit, right? Like ads, but I get ones that are like kind of toy related. And oftentimes it's like people's dead animals on placards and these things. And I was like, you know what? People love their pets. I kind of just started to do a few of those and they've been super popular. But yeah, I've just kind of started to do dogs, cats, a lot of, like you said, it's like, just a perfect gift. That's like such a way to personalize something for somebody. I get a lot of like, do my Uncle Gary, right? And that's like not the most passionate work for me for sure. But I try to make it fun and ask them like, can you characterize your Uncle Gary? Tell me about him. Let's turn him into a character, which will be better for the gift in the end. It'll be more fun for me to make and just better all around.
Yeah, they have to be willing to give you some level of detail about the person that you're working on. Like I was even thinking, you mentioned like we could do a figure or something, and I was thinking about like, all right, what would I have me like? And I've had to answer this question before thinking about making my logo, but I was like, what would I have him do? And I think I would have to have you do like the version of me that's my mugshot. But I also am obsessed with my 2 toy Australian Shepherds, so that would be another good option as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I did one, you know, the singer Sia.
Yeah.
So it was a friend of hers that reached out to me to commission it for her for Christmas last year. And she was like, it was very important that you include all of her dogs. And I think she had, I'd have to go back to the picture, but yeah, she got 4 dogs. I'm like, all right. So 4 dogs and Sia. Um, See you later.
Sia's friend hit you up to make a Sia toy.
Yeah. I don't know how certain people, I just get, a lot of it is luck. A lot of it is putting myself out there on the internet, and somebody knows somebody who can, especially for a celebrity, man. Like, what do you get? The person that has everything. How about a custom toy that blows their mind of like how specific you could make it whatever you want?
I think that's what's so cool about what you do, though, is it's like there's the angle of just things you're interested in, right? Like if somebody's a huge Drake fan, wanting a Drake action figure, that not being a thing that really exists out in the mainstream or whatever. But then also the ability to give people something it's such a special
Totally.
present, and it's very cool. It's so cool to find people who are doing something that was just like this was a passion project they kind of stumbled into, suddenly started to figure out some avenues for ways to grow it, expand, get more exposure. And social media is such a hellhole that it's nice when people find a way to use it positively, make a living
Totally.
off of it, provide for their families, and do something that they're genuinely interested in as a way to make money, which is the thing that drew me to you and made me want to talk to you on the show, because it's not that easy to pull off, and then most people aren't really willing to make the jump. And sometimes, like in your case, it sounds like this was probably how it worked out. You kind of get forced into it, or life puts you in a position where it's like you're like, fuck it, I might as well try something crazy, which is kind of the way it happened with me too. And sometimes I feel like I don't really deserve any of the credit for like putting myself out there, because it just kind of was the way the things broke. It just happened the way it happened. But yeah, dude, it's I have to ask you, why Sir Collect a Lot?
I don't have a good answer for that because I was pretty quick to just come up with something when I had this weird thing where I didn't want to share the toys on my personal Instagram. But I was like, I have to share these things. I want them to be out there. I'm very proud of them, and apparently not proud enough to share them on my personal Instagram at the beginning, but I wanted to kind of have a place where it would just be related to these toys. Um, so it was pretty spur of the moment decision. I think it was at least happened to luckily be open to kind of whatever, you know, if I do expand beyond toys or whatever it may be, it just is kind of like very specific to collecting, not just toys. And I've definitely tried to position myself as an artist eventually. I didn't want, I was really scared of that word early on, and I didn't consider myself that, but these things, based on the skills I've had to develop and the time that they take, it's an art form, and I want it to be positioned as such. So um kind of glad it kind of allows for that to be kind of included in the name too.
As somebody who pimped out his personal Instagram for many, many years, pumping like the podcasts that I do, it's funny because it's kind of like this weird cyclical thing where at the beginning you're like hesitant to do it. Then I was like, fuck it, Instagram has no other purpose except for marketing yourself. Why would I not just go full blown with it? And then I hit this point where I was like, well, yeah, but I want a place to put pictures of my kid and dogs, and now it's getting weird. So like I pulled back all the way, reversed out of it. And now it's like I just have the pages. I mean, obviously it helps when you're like, for example, Sir Collect a Lot having over 20,000 followers. It makes the decision a little bit easier to have that be the place that you house all your stuff. But yeah, social media is complicated like that when you've got your personal brand and then your actual brand for work. And by the way, your logo is awesome. Did you make it or did somebody
No,
else?
it was something that I kind of had made early on, just knowing that it was an image of me that then was kind of cartoonified. And then I had an artist named David Shearer that I've worked with on a couple projects to help me kind of make it just feel a little more official. And it acts as just this perfect stamp on my work. The association of it with me was kind of one of those weird things too. Like you're talking about like self-promotion and should my logo be myself, and does that get complicated and then does it put people off? But I've gotten over that. I think that it's cool to promote myself and the business all in this one thing.
Absolutely. It looks exactly like you too, which I love. It's like I knew what you looked like before we got on Zoom because it's literally, and it's on your shirt right there.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I have to be careful kind of where I don't shoplift from Target or something when I'm wearing the shirt or anything like that. But and also it wouldn't help that it has the big
oh yeah,
QR code on the back that someone could find pretty easily.
Have you ever made a bobblehead?
I repainted somebody's bobblehead once. Or maybe a mutual friend, DJ Bean. Do you know DJ?
Nah.
Okay. Internet friend, but real friend for me. I wasn't sure if you might know him from Twitter, but he had a Jason Tatum bobblehead that he asked me to customize for him and kind of bring to life with a different jersey, add his tattoos, just change up a few funny things. So I'll get requests like that every once in a while. Some that make zero sense. I get asked to make like children's toys often, and I have to be like, this is not something that a kid plays with. I seal these things. I attach them to the card back. Like it's sealed in there so that when I send it across the country or across the world, it doesn't bounce around. But the idea that someone would open it and let a kid play with it kind of terrifies me, but I try to make sure that that's made clear early in the negotiation process.
I would think the strong majority of your customers are people who are never going to take it out of the box. So yeah, it gets a little weird when you've got people who want to make actual, like they're going to be played with, not just displayed.
Oh, totally.
Miles, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. It means a lot. Anything else you want to drop in before we head out?
No, just if you got a crazy idea for an action figure, let me know.
Oh, I'm going to be thinking on it. And anybody listening, at Sir, I almost said Sir Mix-a-Lot, at Sir Collect-a-Lot on Instagram. Miles McAlpin, not in Boston anymore. We appreciate you, dude. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, again, that was Miles McAlpin. Give him a follow on Instagram at Sir Collect-a-Lot. Between our recording, which I did last week, and today, I thought of the perfect action figure for Sir Collect-a-Lot to make for the Bolin Media recording studio. So make sure you comment, make Bill Chungus toy on his latest post so we can get a Bill Chungus action figure in the studio. And if you know someone else with an interesting career or side hustle you think would be great for our show, let me know by hollering at me on social media or emailing me, ross@rossbolinpodcast.com. If you're looking for a place to place your bets this football season, look no further than today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers NFL, college football, and a brand new cash-out system giving you options to bet and win all season long. First two legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet, or let it ride for a chance at a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for an entire season filled with odds, boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, go to MyBookie.ag now and register for an account free. When you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code ROSS to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's promo code ROSS to claim your deposit bonus and, for a limited time, a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. So what are you waiting for? If you're already betting sports online elsewhere and are down to do so on a great platform that also supports your favorite podcast, code ROSS at mybookie.ag is the way to do it, folks. Just use code ROSS to unlock that deposit bonus. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. It's a big weekend in the NFL for you and I, Kade. Not that every weekend in the NFL isn't a big weekend, but this Sunday at noon Central Time, Kade's Colts, which is what everybody calls them, face off against my Texans in Houston. Two rookie quarterbacks and two franchises who haven't done anything of note since Peyton Manning went to Denver, facing off in the battle for the Ross Bolin podcast soul. We're going to have to get together and watch this game, I think, dude.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited, two pretty dog shit teams.
It's an AFC South battle for the ages.
Yeah. But with a lot of potential.
I really think it'll be a good game.
Yeah,
I do.
sure.
What's your quarterback's name? Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
So you got Anthony Richardson. I've got your boy from Ohio State,
Yeah,
CJ
it's a little
Stroud.
conflicting still.
Well, I feel like you'll just be happy no matter what. Like if
Yeah.
CJ crushes it.
I'm like, yeah, that's my boy.
And then if the Colts win, you're good too.
Yeah. It's a win-win for me.
This is really like our first game with, like, we need this.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to start like a whole new era on the Texans. Like, we have a brand new coach, first-year head coach, rookie quarterback. We took the number 2 and number 3 picks in the NFL draft. Obviously, Will Anderson being the other one, and he's did great. First Texan ever. It's always weird saying that because Texan means like everyone in the state of Texas. But
yeah.
First Houston Texans player ever to get a sack in his like NFL debut, week 1. And we've been terrible, like really, really bad for several years now, with just like every disaster that could be incurred upon a football team happening. Deshaun Watson, probably most notably, but also Bill O'Brien and shipping off all of our star players. It's been terrible. So I didn't expect us to win week 1 because we were on the road in Baltimore. And again, it was C.J. Stroud, our quarterback's first game, our head coach's first game ever as a head coach. But I mean, the Colts suck too.
Yeah, we've been, on the quarterback carousel for quite a while now, and it's nice to, have someone that is gonna break the wheel.
Did I ever tell you, like, Andrew Luck was obviously your guy for a little bit there after Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
He went to high school with my little brother, and it was like, I mean, maybe a mile from my house, something like that. But I was zoned for Westside High School, and Andrew Luck went to Stratford High School, where my brother went to high school. But
we went to different high schools?
Yeah, because my high school experience was so alarming to my parents that they were like, nope, not doing that again.
But they didn't want to pull you out. You're just like, yeah, you can deal with it.
No, they let me get through the whole 4 years before I think the decision was made. Like, okay, Sam cannot go to the same place that Ross went to, because he's 5 years behind me. So they had a little bit of a buffer there to make that decision. Anyway, I've been aware of Andrew Luck forever, and it was always horrifying to me when he was on the Colts, because I was like, now we got to deal with this fucking guy after Peyton Manning. Now we got to deal with this guy. But fortunately, he was like, I don't want CTE. I'm going to take these millions of dollars and go be a scientist or something. Yeah,
disappointing, but I can respect him for that, not wanting to have his brain turn into mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it was a good move.
Yeah.
It was a good move, but disappointing for Colts fans, yeah. Anyway, of course, if you're a Houston sports fan, check out my Houston sports show, Banging the Can, wherever you get your RBP. We've got one more segment today before we head out. It's time for our insane headline of the day. Here it is. Florida man. They're always great when they start with Florida man. Everybody knows that. Florida man arrested after trying to cross Atlantic in hamster wheel vessel. And it's the Atlantic Ocean, if you didn't pick up on that. That's what he tried to cry. Atlantic, it's not like a street somewhere in Florida. The ocean. Gotta love Florida man. He's always there to make the rest of us feel more sane. So from the BBC, a Florida man was arrested after trying to, quote, run to London, end quote, across the Atlantic Ocean in a homemade vessel resembling a hamster wheel. The U.S. Coast Guard intercepted Reza Baluchi about 70 miles off Tybee Island, Georgia, on August 26th. Officials said the 44-year-old marathon runner refused to leave the vessel for 3 days. It says Mr. Baluchi has tried 3 similar voyages before, all of which ended in Coast Guard intervention. So I'm trying to make sense of this as we work our way through the story. The guy has some kind of a giant floating hamster wheel device. He gets into it, pushes off somewhere from some beach somewhere into the ocean, and starts running in an effort to run to London across the Atlantic Ocean. So he's got some amount of food and supplies in there, I assume. But the Coast Guard gets wind of this somehow, goes, God damn it, Baluchi's out there trying to run across the Atlantic again. They pull up on him with boats and whatnot, and then he refuses to leave the thing. So they're just camped out for 3 days, like with what, a megaphone being like, get off the hamster wheel. Please exit the vessel, sir. And he refuses. It says the makeshift contraption he was using is shaped as a wheel with paddles that are designed to propel it forward as the wheel revolves. Here's a quote from the criminal complaint. It says, based on the condition of the vessel, which was afloat as a result of wiring and buoys, U.S. Coast Guard officers determined Baluchi was conducting a manifestly unsafe voyage. I guess you're not allowed to be unsafe in the ocean? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I'm kind of. Why is he getting arrested? Like,
if
someone wants to run across the ocean in a hamster wheel, like,
just their human right.
Yeah,
shouldn't just be stopping everybody who goes.
You're
for
on
it.
international waters. Like, I feel like you're free to do whatever.
You're supposed to be good once you're out there, right?
That's what I thought.
I thought we were all allowed to attempt a run to London. It says Mr. Belushi's voyage began as officials were preparing for the arrival of a major hurricane. Oh, well, that could.
Yeah.
Not the best timing.
You can go and run to London whenever, but
conditions need to be sound. Yeah. Hurricane weather. Hurricane season, really, on the whole. He should know this, Belushi, if he's tried it 3 or 4 times or whatever. Hurricane season is not his time to go run in a hamster wheel across the Atlantic to London. Officials say he refused to step off the vessel and threatened to kill himself. He also claimed that he had a bomb on board, according to court papers. You have to know that when they were out there and he was like, I've got a bomb, stay back. They were like, bullshit. There's no way this cat has a bomb on this hamster wheel. He's trying to run to London across the Atlantic. But you have to treat it with that respect. He probably had to bring out a negotiator and shit. It says on September 1st, he eventually surrendered and abandoned his vessel after being brought to a Coast Guard base in Miami. Officials later determined that the bomb had been fake. So I guess he had some kind of device he could like wave out the hamster wheel at them like, yeah, this is the bomb.
Yeah, it's like a little button with the little red top on. He's going to I'm going to press it.
It's probably like a PlayStation 2 or something.
Yeah.
He's now facing federal charges of obstruction of a boarding and violation of a captain of the port order. Wow, you don't want to get a captain of the port order. This was not Mr. Belushi's first arrest for taking to the ocean in his vessel, which he calls a bubble. So he's just been using this. They're giving him the vessel back every time? Is he not even having to build a whole new one? It says in 2021 he was arrested after being rescued while trying to ride from Florida to New York after drifting 30 miles south of his departure point. Which south is the opposite direction of New York. I don't know if you know that. If you're in Florida, New York is north. He drifted 30 miles the opposite direction. In 2014, he had to be rescued from a similar contraption near St. Augustine, and then 2 years later, he again had to be rescued off the coast of Jupiter near Palm Beach in Florida. So this is why he has some kind of a captain of the port order against him. He's not allowed. Specifically, this guy, not allowed to try to run to London in his hamster wheel. According to previous interviews, Mr. Belushi said he was attempting the voyages to raise money for a variety of causes, including for the homeless and the Coast Guard, ironically. Trying to raise money for the people who keep stopping him from raising money for them. I also love that just like you can't just say you're trying to run across the Atlantic for the homeless. That's not specific enough. Is there like an org that you're trying to raise those funds for? And where's the money coming from?
Yeah, who's donating to this dude?
Is there like a GoFundMe he has set up for if he makes it, people can like throw in or something? This is ridiculous. I think it's safe to guess that Mr. Belushi's probably not like all there, in our reality.
Yeah, the hamster wheel is spinning, but the hamster ain't moving.
Yeah, there's no hamster in there.
Yeah.
It says, quote, my goal, this is Belushi talking. He said, my goal is to not only raise money for homeless people, raise money for the Coast Guard, raise money for the police department, raise money for the fire department. That's the end of the quote. He trailed off. So he's just raising money for all the departments and the homeless.
Yeah.
In general. It says they're in public service. They do it for safety and they help other people. That was his reasoning. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably time to look for another way if you want to be a philanthropist. I don't know that the hamster wheel across the Atlantic or, running from Florida to New York, this is not it.
Yeah, it can't be Jake Gyllenhaal and Bubble Boy.
Yeah, that's a movie, This is real life, and I don't think it's just funny because they'll let us kill ourselves in all manner of ways. The government, alcohol, fucking tobacco products, they don't give a shit. They just tax them. Just let this guy try to run across the Atlantic, dude. What's the big deal? Why is he not allowed to try? I just don't understand. It's a shame though, because he could save all of the homeless. Plus the Coast Guard, plus the fire department, plus the police department.
It's out there trying to change lives.
You're
preventing him from doing that.
Yeah, the Coast Guard, turns out, is the enemy.
Yeah.
It's the enemy. That will do it for today's show, but please support our sponsors by hitting the links in the description of this episode and using our dedicated codes. That's how we pay the bills here at Bolin Media. New sponsor today, Delete Me. Make sure you check them out. Click on that link, joindeleteme.com/RBP, promo code RBP to get 20% off and start deleting your data from places you don't want it online. Also, manscaped.com, code RBP when you check out to get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. And, of course, our sportsbook sponsor, mybookie.ag, code Ross when you deposit to get that welcome bonus, as it is called. Support our sponsors to support the show. Check out our other Bolin Media shows at bolinmedia.com, including Jared J-Bone Borislow's F1 show, Formula Bone, covering every single F1 race all season long with a preview and a recap at youtube.com/@FormulaBone. If you want to watch the full episodes with over 100,000 subscribers there on Formula Bone's YouTube page, but there's audio for Formula Bone wherever you listen to RBP. We've got Oysters, Clams, and Cockles covering the best in TV and movies as we're kind of in the off-season right now. Between big shows that we're covering, a lot of the time we do shows episodically where an episode of the show airs, we do one podcast for that episode, and so on and so forth. But right now in the off-season, we're kind of discussing a whole variety of things, which you can see in the description of Oysters, Clams, and Cockles episodes. And like I mentioned, if you're a Houston sports fan, Banging the Can is available wherever you get RBP as well. Go to bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some RBP merch, like a great finishing cup mug or a Stack Good Days coffee mug. We've got baby onesies, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of good stuff at bolinmedia.com/shop. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolin. Of course, follow the show on all the different social medias. Just search the Ross Bolin Podcast on Twitter or Instagram or Threads or TikTok, and you'll find us. And Mr. Orris, where can the people follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Kade Orris on all the social medias. That's KADEORRIS.
Since you're a big shot influencer now on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
This episode of the Ross Bolin Podcast is presented by Bolin Media, and video of today's show was produced by Kade Orris. Go to youtube.com/@the-Ross-Bolin-Podcast if you would prefer to watch our full episodes instead of just listen. Plus, there's funny clips from our show on there in the form of YouTube Shorts. We will be back later this week, as always, with another ad-free premium edition of RBP available exclusively on patreon.com/Ross-Bolin-Podcast, just like we do every week. It's as little as $5 a month to subscribe and get each week's ad-free exclusive episode available only on patreon.com/Ross-Bolin-Podcast. Until next time, peace be with you and also with you.